Hello, friends. I'm Chris. I'm with Transformation Nation Yoga and Wellness, and I'd like to welcome you to Poise and Pen. This is our weekly mindfulness and directed journaling class. So, what I have in mind for today is all the classes that I've taught this week have been themed around the root chakra, and this one sort of is as well. So, we're going to begin with a mindful movement exercise. We're going to go through about 10 minutes of uh, root chakra qigong practice. And then we're going to do a seated mindfulness meditation practice. It's called the Cloud Mountain practice. And when we've completed the Cloud Mountain practice, we'll go into some directed prompted journal. Now, today's class is a little bit different in that we have people signed up for this class, but no one taking it real time. So what I would recommend, I'll talk us through the prompted journaling questions, and I'm going to pull up a slide so you have access to those questions. But then I'm going to stop the recording, and what I recommend for you is you pause the recording at that time. You'll be able to have access to those questions right there, have those available to you, and then you just restart the recording when you're ready, and I'll go into a little bit of discussion. I'll prompt you on your journaling responses, and I'll share some of my thoughts and my responses with you as well. So with that, we'll get started. So what do you need for today's practice? You'll see when I step back behind myself here, I've got a yoga mat set up. You don't necessarily need a yoga mat set up. I happen to have practiced yoga right before this class. But if you had a comfortable place you could sit, so that could be a meditation cushion. I'm going to be seated on a yoga bolster, but it could also be a desk and a chair, right? You don't have to be sitting on the floor. You'll also need a journal and a pen. And if you're like me, you might need some reading glasses. But other than that, there's really nothing in particular that you just have to have for this practice today. So regardless of where you're practicing, whether you'll be seated on the ground or seated in a chair, I'd like you to start today in a standing position. So I'm just going to walk back to my mat here. So I'm in full camera frame. And come to a comfortable standing position. I'd like you to walk your feet out a little bit wider than hip distance apart. Now, toes probably facing 12 o'clock. So the outside edges of your feet make the number 11 sign. You stay right where you're at. I'm going to turn to the side just for demonstration purposes. Right, shift the weight into your heel. And I'd like you to visualize almost like you had a tail running from your tailbone down toward the earth as a third appendage. And since we're imagining anyway, that third appendage is secure enough, you can put even more weight into that. It's a load-bearing appendage for you, right? So what this is going to do for your feet is shift more weight into the heels, really light in the balls of the feet. Float your palms about an inch or 2 inches in front of your thighs. You guys stay right there. I'm just going to turn to face you again. Right, so shift the weight into the heels, even more weight in the heels. And if you can, otherwise, float the joints. Float your head over your shoulders, over your hips, over your knees. Introduce a little bit, if it's not there already, a little bit of water element into the knees. So that might look like a bend in the knees. Start to look for some anchors to your present moment experience. Where is the sensation for you most provocative right here? Right? It could be the sense of the heels rooting down into the earth. I'm already getting some fire in my thighs, right? It could be fire in the legs. It could be something to do with your breath. So it's less important where it is. That point of most provocative sensation, your anchor to your present moment experience, will likely shift throughout the practice today. But what is more important for this to be truly a mindful movement practice is for you to attend to that and notice as it shifts and be able to shift your focus and attention to that area of most provocative sensation. Or shift more weight into your heels again. If you notice it coming forward into the balls of your feet, maybe bend the knees even a little bit more water in the knees. And then reach your arms up to shoulder height. Turn the tips of the fingers to face one another. Palms of your hands slightly back towards your face, as if you were hugging a big tree. So you may know this already by academic training. I'm a forester. So looking at this tree, it's a sizable tree, sort of a medium to a large hardwood tree, depending on where you live, or softwood for that matter. But this tree would be 36 to 40 inches DBH, diameter of breast height. Right, shift the weight back into your heels. Right, you're probably really feeling the legs right now, or if you are, I would say that's super normal. I'm certainly feeling mine. And in fact, we've lifted the arms for a fairly short amount of time, but I'm already really feeling my arms as well. Right, super normal. If you want to close your eyes, you could close your eyes or you could leave them open with a soft gaze. Right, in the contemplative practices, it said that the advantage to a soft gaze is through that gaze we develop insight. All right, I'd like you to think about, just ask the organism of your body, what is it that she needs this morning, or what does he need this morning? And if your need is nourishment, right, that might be affection, it might be love, it might be hope, whatever that nourishment might look like, or literal physical nourishment like food and water. I'd like you to visualize a deep taproot from your heels starting to grow deep down into the earth, reaching for the aquifer. And if what you need is stability and support, visualize your root system growing fairly shallow, but nice and wide. All right, so really feeling the legs right now, maybe really feeling the arms and shoulders too. And we're gonna start the transition. So turn the palms down the face of the earth and imagine that the arms are falling down through honey. Let them flow down toward the thighs. And we're gonna work through 3 rounds of clearing. So maybe on an inhale breath, but circle the arms up to shoulder height, and then visualize pressing a ball down into water until the palms come to float an inch or 2 in front of the thighs, find an apparent pause. And then same thing, circle your arms up to shoulder height, press the ball down into the water. We're gonna do this one more time. From this point forward in this practice, when I cue for this, I'll just say work through a round of clearing. So let's start that now. Work through a single round of clearing. And then let the palms float in front of your thighs by about an inch, find an apparent pause. And then with a lot of mindfulness and intention, start to lift your arms up, goalposting the arms, turn the palms to the outside, find a light action of drawing the shoulder blades together, lift your gaze. Right, notice what happened to the distribution of weight in your feet. And I'd like you to shift more weight into your tail. And there's no specific breath that you have to do, but I'd like you to just attend to the idea that you are breathing. You're breathing whether you're conscious of it or not, but why not be conscious of it? Right? If you're struggling to find any other anchor to the present moment experience, notice where you feel the breath. And now let the palms of the hands start to float down towards your waist, floating about an inch or 2 in front of your thighs. Find an apparent pause, and then work through a single round of clearing. We're going to go into something called pulsing. You guys stay right where you are. I'm going to turn to the side just for demonstration purposes. But starting from the same high horse stance, with the weight in the heels, weight supported by that tail, the goal is your knees and ankles will hardly move in this practice. But as you inhale, start to lift your arms up, drop your seat back behind you so your heart and your head fall down toward the earth. The backs of your hands and arms lift up toward the stars. And then maybe on an exhale, start pressing into your feet. Lift your heart, lift your head, arms fall down, and find an apparent pause in front of the feet. Weight in the heels. Drop the head and the heart, lift the arms. Press into the heels, lower the arms down by your waist. Right, so this is a very earth-based practice today. But as you move through this, maybe at your own pace, maybe you keep time with me. For me, a nice visualization here is the movement of the sea vegetables in a kelp forest. So as the ocean current plays its forces against the kelp, the fluidity, the smoothness of that kelp forest, can you recreate that in your body here? I went snorkeling at this one particular beach in the Cayman Island once, where a lot of the places where I snorkeled, they were really open and the visibility was really great. But here there were rocks sticking up all over the place. And the day that I happened to be out there, the current was strong. So the water was, for the Cayman Islands, which are world renowned for clear waters, they were pretty cloudy. And from these rocks, these sea vegetables were all over the place. Now, I don't know if it was kelp. It looked like kelp to me, but it danced in the current, danced in the action of the ocean. So graceful, so smooth. Can you recreate that kind of grace and smoothness here? And then finish up the pulse that you're working on right now. Come to an apparent pause again. Work through a single round of clearing. And then find an apparent pause with the palms of your hands floating in front of your thighs. Step your left leg back behind you. Maybe bring your right hand closer to center. And this is going to be a front weighted stance. So roughly 70% of the weight rounded out between all four corners of your right foot, 30% on the ball of that left foot. Float both hands an inch or two in front of that right thigh. We'll find an apparent pause for a moment. And then on an inhale, same thing. More weight in that front leg. Start to drop your heart and your head forward. Lift the back of your hands and your arms up. And then reverse that. Lift the heart, lift the head. Gracefully lower the arms. Recreate that kelp garden movement. Maybe really feeling the muscles firing in that right thigh, right? If you're not, that's okay. If you are, super, super common. My legs are talking to me now. What's the advantage here? Well, among what I think of as many advantages, one is we have this nice base of sensation, a really clear anchor to this present moment experience. So let me note too, when we're transitioning between poses in a mindful movement practice like Qigong, be really conscious of the transitions, right? Often we're cued with instructions that are, it's pretty easy to stay graceful and smooth in the movement, or not easy, but it's prompted, we're reminded. But the transitions can get a little bit loosey-goosey. What I find in my life is if I focus on being graceful and intentional in the transitions in my practice, the chances that I'll be graceful in the transitions in my life often matter better. Right, finish up the one that you're working on now. Float both palms in front of your right thigh by an inch or two. Find an apparent pause. Step your left foot forward. Step your right foot back. Same as the other side, 70% of the weight distributed in all four corners of the left foot. 30% in the ball of that left foot. Float both palms in front of that left thigh. Find an apparent pause. And then on an inhale, fold the heart forward. Lift the arms up. Exhale, reverse. And move through this at your own pace, friends. You could keep time with me, and you really don't have to. There's no big advantage to that. I think it's more important that you honor your own practice and that the practice be real and authentic in what you need rather than keeping some kind of artificial time that I'm calling for. Finish up the one that you're working on right now. Let both palms float in front of that left thigh. Find an apparent pause and step your left foot forward. We're going to work through a single round of clearing first. You guys stay right where you are. I'm going to change my position just for demonstration. And then 3 rounds of full body clearing. So circle your arms wide and up over your head. Exhale, pull the moon from the heavens down to the floor of the ocean. That's it, friends. We're doing that 2 more times. Circle your arms up to shoulder height. Exhale, pull the moon down toward the earth. And then work through 1 more full body clearing. Weight in your heels again. I just noticed it might have crept up into the balls of the feet. And then float both palms in front of your thighs. Find an apparent pause. Great job, friends. So I'd like you to transition yourself into a seated position for a meditation. All right, friends. So this seated position, I'd like you to find a really sustainable seat. So seat that you can be, we're going to be here for some time. So I'd like you to find as much comfort as you can. So for me, that means elevating the hips so my pelvis rocks forward. It might mean sitting in a chair, right? Whatever it's going to take for you to be comfortable. And then stack your joints. Put your head over your shoulders, over your hips. And then I'll cue you to lengthen out of your spinal column. So press down into your seat, grow out of your heart and the crown of your head for the heavens. Maintain this length in your spinal column. So alert there. But on an exhale, everything else relaxes. So maybe feel the soft tissues fall down toward the earth while you maintain length of the spine. Right? And for this mountain cloud meditation practice, you could choose to close your eyes down. Or once again, you could leave them open with a soft gaze. And I'm going to invite the chime. Let me give you a sample so you're not surprised. And I'll invite the chime both at the beginning and the end of our meditation practice. I'd like you to bring to your mind a mountain. So maybe this is a mountain that you've been to before, or maybe this isn't a mountain of your dreams or your imagination. Consider the surroundings of the mountains. What's the mountain made of? Is it basaltic? Is it sandstone? Is it made of granite? What's the vegetation like? Are there forests? You know, the trees tall and spindly? Or are they shorter in stature? What's the rest of the ground vegetation look like? What kind of plants do you see on this mountain? And maybe it's very different in very different parts of the mountain. But picture those. Are there streams that run along the side of the mountain, feeding into bigger streams and eventually a river, and then eventually the ocean? Or is it really dry? What do the fauna look like? What kind of animals might you see on your mountain? This real or imagined mountain? And I'd like you to visualize what's the general nature of the environment in which your mountain rises out of the earth. Is it desert? Is it rainforest? Is it by the ocean or is it far inland? Is your mountain really high or is it lower or more moderate? I'd like you to imagine the other qualities of your mountain. This is strong. Do you have a sense that your mountain is rooted in the earth, firmly rooted into the earth? And can it withstand adversity when challenging weather circumstances come up? What does that mean for your mountain? If there's a thunderstorm, if there's a hurricane, is your mountain still strong? So consider factors like that. Now imagine what it's like for you and your body to take on the qualities of this mountain. Whether you're seated on the floor or a cushion, or you're seated in a chair, maybe at a desk or at a table. Allowing your body to be strongly rooted into the ground. Noticing what it feels like to sit in stillness the way a mountain does. Mountains are strong in the face of their surroundings. So the strength of the mountain comes from its nature and its connection with the earth. It doesn't have anything to do with the external circumstances, the adversity that might come along. Bring to your mind the qualities of clouds. The nature of clouds, they are change incarnate. So they constantly change in form. They constantly change in shape. They can be soft and pillowy clouds. They can easily flow by, but they can be really heavy, dense, stormy clouds that are persistent, that linger around for a while. Maybe even cover the summit of your mountain at times. Start to shift your attention to your thoughts. Just notice the thoughts as they arise and as they fall. You don't have to push them away. That's not what we're doing here. But I will ask that you not attach to them. Just notice them with curiosity and kindness. As these thoughts come and go, imagine that the thoughts are like clouds, and gently label the thoughts with your mind as you notice them in relation to what kind of clouds they are. Is that thought a light, fluffy, puffy cloud? Or is it a strong storm cloud that won't go away? Notice them with curiosity and kindness and gently label them with your mind, just identifying them for what they are. Begin to attend again to the transient nature of these clouds. Do these clouds come and go? How do you feel as if you were a strong mountain in the face of these clouds? The clouds may come and stay for a while. They may float through a short amount of time, but the mountain is the mountain the whole time. How does that feel? Simply notice that the clouds are coming and going, very similar to the weather as it passes over a mountain. Connecting with the characteristics of being a mountain. Strong, rooted in the earth, perhaps a triangular shape, which is a really powerful, stable, secure shape. Your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations being like different kinds of clouds, transient, temporary, unlike the enduring nature of your mountain. As each new cloud enters your consciousness and your environment, identifying that cloud for the type, the nature of that cloud, but not getting too hung up on the movement or the shifting, changing nature of that cloud. But rather, after you've noticed it, after you've identified the cloud, come back to your enduring, strong, durable qualities of mountain. If your eyes are closed, for now, I would like you to keep them closed. And I'm going to cue you for 3 deep, relaxing breaths. Draw on a deep, deep inhale, maybe the deepest breath of your day so far today. Hold it at the top for a beat. And then exhale, let it go make a ha sound. Ha. 2 more just like that. Inhale. Ha. Inhale. Ha. Start to slowly open your eyes. Maybe blinking a couple times, bring your eyes back into focus. taking in your immediate surroundings, and then widening your perspective out enough to take in all the other people, things, or anything else that's in your immediate environment. Great job, friends. So I'm gonna just stop the recording just long enough to transition and bring the slides for our prompted journaling questions up. I will be right back with you. All right, friends, if you haven't done so already, grab your journal, grab a pen. In my case, this means grabbing reading glasses as well. And these questions, I have a series of 3 sets of questions. When I cue you to do so, I'd like you to pause this. You'll be able to see, have access. You can come back to and reference these questions. What they are, the questions are, the first series are, what were the physical and emotional characteristics of your mountain? Do you feel that there are specific reasons that your mountain took on these characteristics? And if so, why? The second series of questions, what did it feel like to embody your mountain? And how did that feeling shift your perception of the experience? How was the experience of sitting with the weather? Did you find value in perceiving your thoughts as clouds? If so, what was the value that you found there? And does this exercise have value for you that you can use beyond the practice, beyond this map? So I'm going to stop the recording for a couple of moments so that I can journal. I'd like you to pause your recording, take all the time you need to reply to these journal prompts, and I'll be back with you here as soon as you're ready. You can press play and we'll resume again. All right, friends, welcome back. How was that experience of the journaling for you? So you know what you've journaled. So you could take a couple moments and reflect on your observations. It may be of value, it may not be of value, but I'll share my observations with you as well. So the qualities of my mountain, the physical and the emotional characteristics of the mountain, my mountain was granite, was made of granite. And it had these sprawling, creeping areas of low vegetation, things like blueberries, mountain cranberries, crowberries. There were scraggy, little spindly jack pine. And in the heat of the sun, in the summertime, if you were on this mountain, you would smell a very distinct pine smell from those jack pines. Peregrine falcons nested on the cliff. You could see turkey vultures flying up over the head. The mountain felt, the emotional qualities for me were grounded, safe, and secure. In my case, for my mountain, it wasn't an imaginary mountain. It's a mountain that I visited many times. It's in my home state. It's in Eastern Maine in Acadia National Park. It's called Champlain Mountain. I think that my mountain took on these characteristics because this was something that was familiar, that's really comfortable to me. It's a place that I love very much. And I also have some admiration for the mountain. So what did it feel like to embody the mountain? So again, I mentioned this with the emotions, but it felt grounding, stable, secure, and really safe for me. Picturing myself as a mountain made me feel more resilient and resistant to the changing connections around me. The connection to the earth for me felt really grounding, organic, and healthy. It was a really good feeling for me. So the experience of sitting with the weather, when I perceived myself as a mountain, it was easier for me to remember that all these other stimuli, these weather events, the clouds, they're transient, they come and they go. So the clouds, the weather, they're temporary, they're in constant flux. So my clouds, I'm using air quotes here, discomfort, difficult emotions, things like that, they wax and they wane, they wander in and out of my awareness, they're not permanent. And I feel like in my case, I'll be really interested if you're comfortable sharing what your experience is. I think this kind of model and this kind of perception has a lot of value for me, both within my practice and outside of it. One of the things that I thought about, as well as I already mentioned, a reminder that these weather circumstances, these are transient, they're temporary, they come and they go. But also a high enough mountain creates its own weather system, right? So the weather can be generated by the circumstances around the mountain. So if you look at a mountain like what used to be called Mount McKinley, is now Denali in Alaska, it's 14,000 feet. It creates its own weather system. Sorry, it's actually much taller than that. 14,000 is like Mount Rainier in Washington State. So like that's kind of a reminder to me that these clouds that come up often, the difficult emotions, the feelings, the thoughts that we feel like are distractions in the moment, they come from us. So we're generating these on our own, but we're bigger than those thoughts. The mountain may be generating its own weather event, but the mountain is not the weather event. The mountain is bigger and more enduring than that. Well, friends, I hope these exercises and the time that you took to journal had some value for you today. If this experience was positive for you, I'd be really interested in hearing what your observations were from your journaling. If this wasn't valuable for you, that would also be great feedback. And again, friends, my name's Chris. I'm from Transformation Nation Yoga and Wellness, and it was a pleasure to move, breathe, and practice with you today. Bring your hands together, maybe bring your thumbs to the space between your eyebrows. Blessings to you and your family. And that concludes our practice for today. Have an amazing weekend.